Week 9. It's been a bit of a busy week this week. At some point last week I decided I'd start doing a Let's Play of Star Ocean 4, but what I hadn't counted on was that I would get drawn into the game, and every day when I finished working on my game, I started thinking, well, what do I want to do now? And I wanted to play a bit of Star Ocean. I was getting I really started to enjoy the game in a way I didn't expect, and I've been putting up like an episode of this Let's Play nearly every day. Anyway, we'll see how long I can keep that up. Anyway, let's have a look at my game. Okay, let's see what progress we've made this week. Ah, look at this. 119,000 apples. That can't be right. Well, let's see. Start off with Tommy over here. Oh, hang on, I better feed him. Okay, let's head over to the kitchen since that's where we got up to last week. Alright, here we are. So last week I built the kitchen, but I hadn't done anything with it. So now let's see where we get up to. I need some good news, chef. Will my giant apple pie be ready for the funeral? For the size you want, you're a few apples short. How many? Exactly 1 million apples. 1 million? How many did we start with? Look, you need 1 million more. I think we can help here. You'd get 1 million apples for me? Sure, let's go talk to the rabbit at the apple tree. Hey, did you meet my kid? Yeah, they were looking for you. I'm at work. What's with that kid? We'll mention it. Okay, so now when you arrive at the kitchen, you get this quest to fetch 1 million apples. Sounds outrageous, doesn't it? Anyway, let's head over to that rabbit and see what he has to say. Right, alright, here we go. So one thing you'll notice now, when you open the map after you've visited the kitchen for the first time, you get a shortcut, so you can go straight back there without having to wander through the castle and the grounds. I love his little chef hat. Shouldn't say that really, I made it, so whatever, I would love it. Right, let's go see that rabbit. Why'd I grab them apples? Anyway, who cares? Right, let's have a chit chat. Did you find my parents? We found your dad, he's working. Oh yeah. We need a favour actually. We need to gather 1 million apples. I can gather some apples for you. It might take a while to get to 1 million. Let's ask my siblings for help. They're playing in the haunted forest. Every location in this area is haunted. We'll be back. Okay, so now the aim of the game now is to gather 1 million apples, and this rabbit will gather apples for you at a rate of 1 apple per second, which means that if you really wanted to, you could just turn the game off now and then come back. I think after about 11 or 12 days, I think that's about the rate, he'll have gathered 1 million apples. But if you want to speed that process up, we're going to go find his siblings. Let's talk to him now. How long have I been banging on for? There we go. I've got 30 apples for you. Great. And those apples are added to your total. There we go, 33 apples, which you can use to feed the little baby here. Or you can go deliver them to the kitchen. So let's go head over now. Oh, that's the haunted forest. There we are. And if you talk to the dad in the kitchen here, he'll take the apples off you. Thanks for the apples. That's 37 apples so far. Only 999,963 apples to go. Alright, seems a long way, doesn't it? So let's check out the haunted forest. I actually made a little bit of it, by which I mean one screen. Oh, you might notice as well the haunted forest has the same music as the castle. I'm going to change that eventually. I'll have to come up with some new music for this thing. So here's our first enemy, and only so far in the forest. We've got this mushroom background. And this thing here, he, oh my god. So once you defeat this guy, he explodes into spores, and the two little mushrooms that were on his side, spawn to these two little creatures on the left and right who fire poisonous spores at you. You actually can't block those spores, you have to swipe them out of the air with your sword. God damn it. Every week. I have to do it at least once a week, don't I? There we go. Because the way they float up in the air, you can't always... See if we can sneak past it. No. Yeah. There we go. And that's what I've made of the Haunted Forest so far. And the idea is that you progress through it, defeating monsters, and then finding the rabbit siblings. And then as the rabbits go back and join their older brother, older sister, whatever it is, they'll increase the rate at which you gather apples. And you'll pretty quickly get to 1 million. That's the idea anyways. Oh well. So we'll see. For next week, I'd like to have a new music track for the forest and introduce a new screen with a new monster maybe. Anyway, let's see what else I've been doing this week. Gaming now. Earlier in the week, I finished my playthrough of Grandia 2. I don't know how to fit it all in. Anyway, you know, I've played so many RPGs now, I start to mix them all up with each other. Back when I replayed Tales of Vesperia, when that came out on the Switch, I had a memory of, oh, what's she called? The pink-haired girl. For the start, she's like the main character, Estelle. I had a memory of Estelle cutting her hair as an act of like defiance and independence or something. Of like, you know what I mean? Like as a moment of resolve, she's like, she cuts her own hair with a knife. But then when you find her and then she goes and gets changed into like her main outfit that she wears for most of the game, her hair is already short. And I'm like, hang about. Have they changed this for the Switch version or something? And then it took me a long time to realise that I was thinking of Garnet from Final Fantasy IX. I just completely mixed up those two characters. I mean, but you can see the similarities, can't you? Like, they're both princesses who you meet at the start of the game in their own castle, and you assist them in escaping. It's like, whatever. I was thinking about Tales of Vesperia because of Grandia. In the original Grandia, there's a ghost ship, and there's also a ghost ship in Tales of Vesperia as well. Anyway, what was I saying? Grandia 2. Grandia 2 I was even mixing up with another RPG, because I had a memory of Grandia 2 of like an FMV where monsters fall from the moon onto the earth. That doesn't really happen in Grandia 2. And I can't think what I'm... Is it Final Fantasy VIII? There's an RPG where you see an FMV of monsters like coming from the moon or from space and falling on the earth. And I can't think what it is. Anyway, that's all by the by. What did I actually make of Grandia 2? I think I've mentioned this already, but I was surprised how similar Grandia 2 is to the first game in terms of the way things are laid out, the way it sounds, the way it feels, the camera movements, the doors and all that lot. So playing these two games side by side, you really notice those similarities. Now, as for where Grandia 2 stands in the HD collection, it holds up. It's a really good game. The combat is still there, still present from the first game. But for my money, Grandia 1 is the better game. And I would say that because I played it when it came out on the PS1, so it's got that nostalgia factor for me. But more than that, I prefer the characters in Grandia 1. You've got Justin, who's this kid who wants to go out on an adventure because he's got an artifact that was left behind by his dad, and he wants to discover the truth of it. And he thinks, well, my dad was an adventurer and I want to follow in his footsteps. And his mum even was a pirate. He doesn't know it at the start of the game, but he finds out quite quickly. And it's little details like that. I like the fact that his mum was a pirate, and I like that the game doesn't really explore that too much. I think she was called Lily the Skull. But I feel like there's a whole game there in that character. I'd love to play a Lily the Skull game. But Grandia 1 is full of that. It's full of like interesting little characters. There's an old retired adventurer that you meet called Java at the beginning of the game. He seems like a fun guy. Grandia is one of those games where you don't get to choose your party. They kind of come and go as the game goes on. And the second game's like that as well. So as a player, you're really just along for the ride. So why would I recommend people to play Grandia? What I think Grandia's got going for it is strong characterization in both games, and the soundtrack. What Grandia's good at is using music to set the tone in its little moments that make them very memorable. Like I have a memory of Justin and Fina having a conversation on a beach and then some fireflies appear. And it's stuck in my mind because of the music. I'd say both these games hold up really well. And if you're into RPGs, I definitely recommend checking out the Grandia HD collection. I have seen some rumblings online that it's not a particularly good port of either game. But I don't know, I didn't really experience any technical difficulties or anything like that. It never crashed on there. I didn't really notice any like graphical glitches or anything like that. Although I will say, the game must have been in 4:3 originally. And when you're playing it on the Switch now, it's all in widescreen. So you do get some odd moments where like NPCs will run off the screen, but then they just sort of hang around at the edges until like you hit a certain point in the dialogue and then they vanish or they reappear. I did notice that a couple of times. That was a bit funny. But it's not a big deal. It's no, like I'm not going to knock any points off for that. So let's see, where would they fit on the Switch RPG chart? Okay, I'm looking at this list now and Grandia is going straight to the top, I think. I don't know, not number one, but like right up there, around, it's either above or below Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I think. I've got massive nostalgia for Grandia 1 and 2, but more than that, it's just a cracking pair of games. The combat system, like I say, is rock solid. If you've never played a Grandia game before and you're into RPGs, it's definitely worth a look. It's like a hybrid kind of system. It is turn-based, but it matters where on the battlefield your guys are standing, whether they can reach the enemy in time to perform counters and things like that and cancel enemy moves. It's a really exciting system for something that's turn-based. So where do I put it? Is it above or below Xenoblade? As much as I love these games in the Grandia collection, they have aged somewhat. And Xenoblade does benefit from being a more modern game. Plus there's that Torna expansion, which is really sharp. It's really well polished. Man alive. And like I say, the Grandia has one of my favourite game soundtracks of all time. But there again, Torna the Golden Country, I think matches it. Especially because of that battle music. And it's a real close call. 2 games here. I think this is the first time I've looked at a collection. We've got 10, 10, 2 and the collection of Mana, but those games are in the positions they're in on the merits of one game in that collection, so I didn't really care for 10, 2, and I didn't dive too much into Secret of Mana or Adventures of Mana, or whatever it's called, Final Fantasy Adventure. Whereas Grandia HD Remaster is a bundle of 2 superb RPGs. I really like Justin as a character. And all his friends, Fina, Sue, Gad, Rat. This is tough. Is it above or below Xenoblade 2? I've really got to think about it because Grandia is one of my favourite RPGs of all time. Like there, it's in that PS1 trilogy of Grandia, Final Fantasy VII and Star Ocean 2. 3 of my absolute all-time favourite RPGs. Looking at Undertale at number 1 there. Why did I put Undertale at number 1? I think because of its novelty. Because it was so unusual, because it kept surprising me. Every 10 minutes the game would roll out some new surprise. And it's not a very long game, but there's not a wasted moment in that game. Every part of it is unique and surprising and funny, and it had a really, by the end of it, it had a real emotional impact on me. That's why Undertale's number 1, so I'm going to leave it up there. Grandia, god damn it. How do I compare Grandia to Xenoblade? Okay, let's do it like this. I've played both games. Played through the Grandia HD collection. I've played through Xenoblade 2 plus Torna. If I were to go back to one of those games right now, would be Xenoblade. Which means the Grandia HD Remaster collection, I have to look at what it's officially called, is our new number 3. Right, so our list is Sega Ages Phantasy Star at number 11, number 10 Fairy Fencer F, number 9 West of Loathing, number 8 Shining Resonance Refrain, number 7 Collection of Mana, number 6 Trials of Mana 2020, Number 5, Final Fantasy X 10.2 HD Remaster. Number 4, Disgaea 5 Complete. Number 3, Grandia HD Collection. Number 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 plus Torna the Golden Country. And number 1, Undertale plus Deltarune Chapter 1. Well, that's about it for another week. I do briefly want to mention, I rewatched Interstella 5555, which is basically an hour-long music video for Daft Punk's Discovery album. The band brought on Leiji Matsumoto as the visual supervisor for the film, which is why it's got such a classic look about it. You might know Leiji Matsumoto from his stuff like Galaxy Express or Captain Harlock. Now, there's no dialogue in this film. It really is like an hour-long music video. Apart from the odd sound effects here and there, all you get is the audio from the album. So I don't think, at least to my knowledge, there's not really anything else out there that's like this that I can compare Interstella 5555 to. So it's worth a look. Anyway, that's what I've been watching this week. Thanks for watching. Hope everyone's okay out there. And I'll see you next time.